a special episode of Retail Media Thursdays. My name's Michelle.
And I'm David.
And we're here at the Ivy Chelsea Garden to talk about all things retail media with a number of special guests.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, so welcome here to an episode of Retail Media Thursdays. We've got a fantastic panel of guests today. Just to start, I'd love you all to introduce yourselves, what your role is, and we'll crack on. So, on to you.
Go first? Right. Okay, I'm Dati Houlihan. I'm the sales director for Asahi, which basically means I sell beer. It's really simple. That's what I do.
Steve Cottrell. I'm the commercial strategy and activation director for Valio Foods. We sell crisps and honey and sweets.
Hi, I'm Hannah Scarden. I'm the marketing director for Essential Home division at Reckitt. Our biggest brand is Airwick.
That is me. I'm Greg. I'm the digital commerce director at Mars. We sell snacks.
I'm Andy. I'm VP of e-commerce at Reckitt. I work in e-commerce.
There you go.
The next thing we have to debate is the next generation of media networks, the likes of TikTok or Uber or Deliveroo. Are they going to outpace Amazon as the discovery engine for commerce?
Shall I start?
Yeah.
As the marketing side?
Yeah.
So I think that there's different roles of every channel, but within TikTok specifically, and then any of the others that you mention, they are inspiration channels and they're impulse channels as well. So people are on them looking for inspiration. I mean, how many times people doom scrolling on TikTok? They're just enjoying content and then they see something they like.
Stop again. Hey, that's
You can cut this bit.
I didn't like the answer to our question.
Because the camera's over here on Andy dropping his food. So they're impulse inspiration channels, and actually they've turned, I think I was listening to you say about emotional versus functional earlier, they've actually turned some of our categories, like cleaning, into emotional categories that they were 100% functional before TikTok existed. Like the amount of clean talks there are out there right now. And so I think that there are different roles for discovery on TikTok than they are on Amazon. And you're discovering something related to you and your passions and your time-killing nature on TikTok. And then you go to Amazon potentially looking for something that you'd already planned, or you might discover it if you're a different consumer. But at the moment, in the next 3-4 years, I can't see the likes of TikTok getting to the same fulfillment model that Amazon have, or the same repeat cadence on actually their subscribe and save or their ability to replenish in the same way. And so at the moment, I think it's not a case of one or the other. It's fragmenting the ability to discover, and then you go ahead and purchase maybe somewhere else like Amazon or even in store. But those impulse purchases, I think quite a lot of them are going to move to TikTok.
Mine already have. What does everyone else
What
mean?
have you bought? What have you bought?
Everything.
Everything on TikTok.
Honestly,
What's the last thing you bought on TikTok?
An eyeliner.
Okay. What about you, Hannah?
But then I also bought a t-shirt that didn't arrive for 4 weeks and it like eroded my trust in it. So now I'm like, oh, maybe I'll look on TikTok.
I haven't
Buy
got a fulfillment model right.
Yeah.
I am
Nightmare.
not really a hugely impulse buyer, and therefore I have not bought a single thing on TikTok. But I have been inspired by a lot of things on TikTok and gone and bought them in other places.
I think the trust thing's quite important because I will get inspired on TikTok and then I kind of go, ooh, it's like, what's that, Tenu? Like, it's like, I do not want to put my car details into TikTok, right? So
Is that who decides who does? It's in that framework, I wonder. I was reflecting, like it used to be so simple. You go to Amazon, you do everything there, and now TikTok may decide the consumer or shopper, but who actually fulfills that will be Amazon, because I trust them, and I do that all the time. I'm sure we all do it, right? Like, I'm inspired here, I buy here, and it used to be way simpler.
Yeah.
It used to be like Amazon but online or Google, and even like we've seen this with ChatGPT as well, right? My usage of Google has gone right down, but they're so interrelated, and we as businesses struggle with that because you want it to be one that goes back to that one thing versus no, TikTok, I think you said it earlier, the Asian example, using live commerce, TikTok as a marketing-led forum, but you've got the exact example there, done all the conversion, but they still will go to Prime.
Some people will,
delivered.
some people won't. And you need to be everywhere because that's where consumers are. It's not linear, it's not easy.
It's connected.
there's that brilliant stat of saying what 40% of Gen Z actually start their search on TikTok rather than using Google, and that's only going to increase. But I think that fulfillment piece, it's not there yet.
Yeah. Uber Eats is quite an interesting one because they have 18 million audience in the UK, and less than 1% buy snacking. But if we advertise, it jumps to 9%. So you've got this like, we just never advertised there. You've got 18 million people who didn't even know you could buy M&Ms at that point for the movie night, which has always been the occasion. So it's the same brand, same occasion, just different context. So yeah, it's going to have to disperse.
And that's because Uber got the fulfillment model nailed for that
Correct.
occasion.
Yeah.
And I think TikTok doesn't have that occasion. So at the moment, they are the discovery channel. They don't have that occasion nailed. Whereas Amazon, you know what you're going to get. You know your fulfillment times. Uber, you expect it in an hour, in 3 hours, in 4 hours, you know, depending on your location. And so I think nailing the occasion with the fulfillment is critical to actually making the sale.
I think no one's going to like this comment, but we're all become our parents. So we're talking about live commerce, social commerce, TikTok. I don't want to put my bank details in. I might not use it. Hannah only buys classic clothes, so not trendy stuff. We are our parents. We are our parents talking about going to the supermarket versus buying on Amazon. I remember when my dad opened an Amazon account.
To the supermarket.
I remember my dad opened an Amazon account in 2011. He was like, "What do you think? Is it safe?" And I'm like, "This is embarrassing." So there's also, just because of, you know, our age, we're talking about it like it's something that needs to be figured out or trusted, rather than just saying it is happening, it has happened, it has, will be, going to be, has happened. Like, it's, we're here, and I think again that the companies who embrace it and don't try and apply traditional commerce mentality to these new ways of shopping are going to be the ones that succeed. I also think, I mean, how long ago did you write the question? 8 weeks ago? 10 weeks ago? The question's already obsolete.
Yeah.
Which is pretty scary, right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't say TikTok Uber, it should say Grok,
Yeah.
ChatGPT, Copilot, you know, and we're getting stats out of the US and all over the place, right? Because of the way we get information in my team about what percentage of consumers are now finding their way to platforms via these AI chat engines. And it's not an insignificant amount. Now, you wouldn't solve for it because you're still in low single digit, but it's gone from 0 to 4% of total .com traffic in months.
Yeah.
Months. And I'm a pretty heavy AI user, but I haven't bridged that gap yet. I'm still an Amazon, Google guy, unsurprisingly. But we just have to acknowledge that what was, you know, our parents were old-fashioned going to the pharmacy and the supermarket, and we were online. We're old-fashioned. This table is old-fashioned. DSEC. You are old-fashioned.
Merry
Christmas,
everyone!
You are your parents.
But even though we're old-fashioned, we are still the biggest spending group in the UK right now.
We
So
are.
it is still important to cater for the old-fashioned.
Which I think is a very relevant point, because I do think it depends an awful lot on what you sell it. You know, some of the categories that we're in, the like average shop is 65. So, you know, they're not mostly on TikTok, and certainly they're not mostly fulfilling from TikTok. So I think you have got on that end, it's still, that does still skew more to marketing. It's more recruitment lent at the moment, part of which is fulfillment. I also think part of it's audience presently. But the more they solve for it, and this goes back to the point you're making on, you know, sort of the AI bits, the more that adoption increases. If you could go into, there must be so many things where if you could go into Grok or ChatGPT or whatever, and you just want one thing, you don't know what it is, you ask it a bunch of questions about it, and you can just fulfill in one click from there. That would capture a lot of sales quite quickly, I think.
I think what it doesn't capture though is the entertainment, like you said. Like I go on TikTok to be entertained. I don't go on to learn about a product.
Which isn't very retail-y, is it? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, retail is so functional, people don't necessarily
it'll
like
get there,
doing
though.
it. They don't.
It
So
will get there.
it's a whole different occasion or reason.
I think goes back to the difference between what somebody's doing on Amazon or Tesco.com versus Google in the first place. If you've gone to the shopping platform, you've gone there for the purpose of
further
fulfilling
down the
some
funnel.
need, right? I want to buy something. Whereas, you know, sort of historically it was Google up here. In fact, before that it's television, right?
Yeah.
And so whatever it is that's playing that role of inspiring you or creating awareness or making something new, you know, that always is going to have a need. I think that need begins as a marketing need. It begins as a comms.
But with the TikTok thing, what I find interesting is, you know, you talked about, like, we're talking about verticals. You said that there's all this cleaning stuff that's going on TikTok. Yeah, a clean top. There you go.
Is that what
And
it's called?
Yeah, clean. But it's really, but it's like if you're selling something I don't know, TVs or whatever, you can see why TikTok's used. It's inspirational. You can like get people around the entertainment side of it. If you're selling toothpaste, is TikTok like channel for it? And I'm just saying, is it?
Honestly,
How does it work?
you get involved with creators, toothpaste will be the most
Yeah.
interesting, exciting category.
you can show.
I'm sure it'll turn into some children's model of a robot or something. Like, it will be interesting and exciting because people with amazing imaginations will turn it into something exciting because they earn money, they earn commission.
And telling whatever they their influencer model,
Yeah.
right? Like that's how it works.
It's quite paradoxical. Like the best brands in the world stay relevant for all genres. If you take like the Artsell company Guinness, Diageo, like that's relevant for every. It's done this great job of relevance. And then there's a practical thing about delivering the short term, in terms of like catering for who's in front of you. But I used to work for Ryvita 15 years ago, and they had one of the first direct-to-consumer websites for these Ryvita tins, and the average consumer is over 65, female. And they gave it me to run, and 95% of all payments were check, even though it was a website. And I removed it, and I lost 95% of our business because it was like, no, that's your consumer, and paying by check back then was still common enough that it was the way to go. So there's a kind of like respecting it, and then having someone in the team looking at how you create these. I guess you make the brand relevant to the new generations because the brand, of course, is relevant. It's whatever, sillet bag people need to clean at all ages. You know, the minute you go to uni, right, and on, you're on that journey, or etc.
The adoption curve at the category level is remarkably similar to e-commerce. If you look at which categories are going big first, and you map it, live commerce, social commerce, to what happened in e-commerce 20 years ago, it's very similar. And so, working hypothesis, CPG is last or late at best, but it will happen. And when it happens, it'll probably catch most people out.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, again, who's brave, who's going to go first, who's going to say, well, it's not here yet, but we're going to be ready for when it is.
Do you think like being at a big CPG brand like a Reckitt's or a Mars is different to throughout brands? Shark Ninja, for example, is kind of an up and comer, for example, in that sense. Is it different in terms of the speed at which they can innovate and work?
One of Reckitt's USPs, we've all worked there, was the fact that they had this range from like Nurofen, which was 1% of sales, to Durex, which was 40, 50. I think Tesco, 50% of all finished sales were already online, Tesco.com versus Tesco. So you had a broad range. Right. I think when you go to most food businesses that I now work in and did before, it's like 5 to 6%.
Yeah.
And so therefore, if you keep looking at other food companies for inspiration, you're going to have a hard time. So you have to find a way to get yourself out of food. I think a lot of like the Reckitt's and the L'Oreal's of this world got ahead because they had brands they had no choice. Durex was no choice. Finish was no choice because it had scale and growth. And that's why you saw, and probably the clients you work with, you see the progress is directly linked to the type of product they have, which Dart said, like Philips is always held up with you guys as like a really, really good partner. But that's because they have to be. It's a necessity versus a nice to have in food.
Strong leadership as well, right? We've all experienced a strong leadership.
Really strong leadership.
That says, we are doing this, we're going this way. And if you take that away, even in a company where it makes sense.
Yeah, it falls.
It's really difficult to escape the economics of the fulfillment. Like if we sell, kettle sharing bags, that's our primary crisp pack or whatever. It's going to cost our summit like in a compound 65.
Did you bring some
Whatever. It's very difficult. If it's got a unit cost of £1.65, it's very difficult to fulfill that. People don't typically want to buy 6 bags of kettle at a time or 10 bags of kettle at a time. Greg eats 10 bags of kettle at a time. He doesn't want to buy them all himself. But so I think within these sort of categories where it is all low ASP and it doesn't have long shelf life and it isn't, if you like, separate to your general food shop, you have still got this reality that convenience was always the sort of main driver of anybody's shopping mission. Go to the nearest shop to my house. Everybody is still going to a supermarket 42 weeks of the year. So
I've been to the supermarket for 2 years.
Difficult, I think, to dislodge those types of things from the food shop, put them online. And where we've got, sort of honeys or whatever, which are more expensive, or some of them are, particularly if you buy Manuka, those ones you see much higher participation online. And I do think the unit economics plays a massive part in how much.
You just said you haven't been to a supermarket in a couple of years.
Yeah,
right, which is,
and I mean it, honestly.
So I find personally though, when I'm buying stuff, I was in New York last week, and I went to Macy's, and it was a disaster because it's too big for me. But at the same time, I was overwhelmed.
You become your dad.
Yeah, I was overwhelmed.
We're back there.
There was a part of me that I enjoyed the part of it where I'm physically trying the clothes on and I'm touching them, I'm feeling them and all that. Like, there is a part of shopping which isn't just about convenience, it's about the enjoyment of it. Is that not still a thing? Like, you know, you want to get people want to go to Blue Water. No, obviously not grocery shop, but people want to go to a Blue Water, or they want to actually physically turn up to have a look
That
around.
experience has been transformed because AI has enabled you to have those sorts of experiences, VR headsets, online, on your phone, and create that time. So if you want to try clothes on, you go, okay, I don't want to buy things because I really need to try them on. You can order 10 sizes and colours of everything, and it's so easy to send it back these days. So now you've got all the time in the world to try them on at home. And I think the example you gave of Shark Ninja and products that we sell in FMCG, like what you were saying as well, Steve, was, you know, that unless you live extremely rural, you are always 10 minutes away from a place where you can buy an FMCG product, where you can buy a snack or a cleaning product. Whereas, could you go and buy a vacuum cleaner at like 10 p.m. on a Wednesday evening? No. So e-commerce has like filled a gap where, oh, my Hoover just broke, or I'm going to buy a present for somebody, or I need to do something, and it's not possible within 10 minutes of my house. It's filled a gap in those sorts of brands and those categories, whereas there isn't actually a gap for every consumer in our categories yet. Therefore, it's still a choice. You can get in your car and drive or walk to a shop, or you can buy online.
You can see that behaviourally as well. So if you look at like grocery.com or whatever, click through to PDP on a lot of our more commonly bought products used to be like 2 to 3%. I don't have Shark Ninja's detail, but I'm pretty sure the click through to PDP when somebody's buying their product is extremely high because it's one purchase. So a lot of it is trust and information. I want to understand the product, I want to convert. And so I do think they're very, very different. So from an agility perspective, yeah, their organization is more digitally native than, you know, sort of all the ones that we work for. But it's probably just organically got a bit of business model that's more lent that way.
And it becomes self-fulfilling because if you have a higher share of trade potentially in online, you compete with more people. So sellers, because of economics, come to it, which means you become more innovative because your only way to survive, like Shark Ninja are one of the most innovative companies, that's what they're famous for, because they're having to compete with all these TikTok brands and all these different things, versus in food, the barriers to entering the snacking aisle, even the alcohol, are relatively low. And whenever you do see even a new beer, right, you find out 6 months later it's owned by someone big, but as a consumer I didn't even know, right? Like, you know, you see, like, oh, Madrid, oh, it's a beer from Madrid or whatever, and you find out it's owned by one of the big guys. So there's kind of like two elements there where it kind of self-enforces, but I think for the food industry, looking outside of food is the smartest thing you could do. And that's why, like, most of the questions we ask you guys as partners is like forget food, show us the best people at it and some of their behaviors. How do they structure? What do they look like? And knowing what we're great at and what we're having the humility of what we're not great at is probably one of the biggest kind of, I don't know what to call it, maybe managerial courage. Just accepting that you're massive but you don't know anything in this area. So
I think, like, ironically, although it's not something I'd advocate, I actually think that the way that it will find its way through the bulk of organizations is going to be via consultants. Because I don't think that boards and senior people in this position are going to empower the team underneath them. I don't think they're going to know themselves.